Never ever say the phrase, "it can't get any worse," because it can. I was already having the shittiest time of my life. I had finally moved in with my boyfriend of 5 years, just to catch him cheating on me with his best friend's ex. Apparently, they'd been hooking up for the past 2 years. Luckily, I had the lease in my name, so I could kick him out. I got passed over for a promotion at work, and they were increasing our workload. Needless to say, I was a hot mess for a few months. I did the typical breakup thing, wallowing in self-pity for a few weeks. It didn't help that Brad, who got the promotion before me, was asking me if I was sad about not getting it. I heard him make a joke when he thought I was out of earshot, that I was letting myself go since I started here. Jerk. He was always brown-nosing the bosses, going on golf trips, while barely doing the bare minimum of work. I, on the other hand, worked my butt off, worked overtime, took on extra projects, and skipped numerous lunches. The kicker was, I wasn't just working to try to get a promotion. It was also to save up so Steve and I could go on a vacation to a remote cabin by the woods. It was supposed to be romantic. I called off the next day and decided I was going to get it together. I was going to lose weight, work out, and buy some new clothes. I wasn't going to let this stuff bring me down. Within a few weeks, I had lost a few pounds and was starting to feel better about myself. Then work announced they would have to lay off some people. They said the company wasn't performing as well as hoped, and that they would have to make a 30% reduction in staff. Unfortunately, I was among those being cut. Apparently, they considered several factors, and my recent absence and perceived lack of productivity placed me in that category. Luckily, because I'd been with the company for a decent amount of time, I received severance. I decided to use the rest of my sick time that I had earned with the company and put some time into me. I slept in for the first little bit and read a few smart novels that I'd been meaning to get to. Once I had gotten some R&R, I decided I wasn't going to sit around and be a doormat. I was done letting the men in my life treat me like that. I started going to the gym and eating better, since I didn't have to hear Steve complain about losing his prime dad bod he'd been working so hard on. By the time I finished with the company, I felt like a whole new version of myself. I decided, since I hadn't heard back from any potential employers, to treat myself to a vacation. Going on vacation with my best friend Jessica. It would be a chance to get away from the social media drama associated with people who knew me. Steve or my old employers. Plus, most of the new places I had applied to were remote. And maybe I would finally use my English degree for something I wanted. So I booked an Airbnb in a nice lake town surrounded by woods. It was said to be an up-and-coming spot attracting a younger crowd. Apparently, the town was on the verge of dying out until a group of investors, rumoured to include some influencers with too much money on their hands, tried to give the town a makeover. It sounded like a fun place. There were microbreweries, gastropubs, lounges, and even a cafe. I figured that, at the very least, we could go out and I could attempt to socialise a little bit. Unfortunately, the night before we were supposed to leave, Jessica called me.
Girl, I'm so sorry. I've been throwing up for the past hour and... oh no.
I don't want to think about the noises I heard on the other end.
I don't think I can make it tomorrow. Please forgive me.
Jessica, you need to get some rest. Don't worry about it. I'm still going to go. It might be good for me, I said with feigned enthusiasm. Jessica seemed too sick to notice. I hung up the phone and looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, saying out loud to my reflection, "Look here, Rhiannon. You're going to go on that vacation and have fun. So what if you broke up with your boyfriend, lost your job, your best friend is too sick to go on the girls' trip with you? It can't get any worse than that." I laughed at myself and made myself smile. You were going to go out and have fun. Let your freak flag fly. I went to bed and actually fell asleep pretty fast. I got to sleep in a little more than I originally planned, because I didn't have to drag a grumpy Jessica out of bed. I love her to death, but boy, she's a pain in the ass in the morning. I will never forget the semester. She had an 8 a.m. class and I had to wake her up. But we survived that. If we remained best friends after that, we can definitely survive anything. The drive to the town was relaxing since we decided to book Wednesday through Sunday. I got to the Airbnb and punched in the code. The house was as advertised, smelled clean, and there was even a welcome package of snacks and basics like coffee. It made me a little sad when I saw it had girls' trip on the note. But I decided I was going to try to be positive. I messaged Jessica, and luckily, she was feeling better, but still a little weak from the dehydration. She said she was hoping she would be able to make it out if today went well. I told her not to worry about it. I was starving and needed to figure out what I was going to do for food. I had already hit up the nearest grocery store to get the essentials for the weekend. I was too lazy to cook after the drive. It looks like the only place that would be open later was one of those bars, one of the last strongholds of the old dying town. No matter, I can get a beer and a burger. I'm probably going to call it an early night anyway. I changed into a cute black V-neck sweater dress, knee-high boots and jacket. It was enough to be flirty and say, I might be interested, without seeming too desperate. It was spring, but there was a bit of a chill in the air. I drove over to the bar and took a seat. It was pretty quiet. Perfect, I thought. I ordered my food and draft beer. I was sitting, sipping my beer, waiting for my food order, when he walked in. He was tall, broad, had long hair pulled in a low ponytail, and a thick, well-kept beard. He was the type I always looked at, but never had the guts to talk to. To my surprise, he sat by me at the bar, with a small nod of acknowledgement. I returned the gesture, trying to think of what to say. His dark brown eyes occasionally caught mine. Luckily, my food came just in time before I could speak.
Here you go, miss. Bacon burger, medium, half fry and half onion rings. Made it a double meat patty since you're so dang skinny. I know you didn't order a double, but it's on the house.
The bartender stated with a wink. If he weren't twice my age, I probably would have thought it was cute. No matter, I smiled politely and thanked him. I noticed that the guy was looking at my food.
Excuse me, sir. I'll have what she's having, please.
The bartender nodded and headed to the kitchen to place the order. I took my shot then. If you want some of my fries or onion rings while you wait, please help yourself. There's way too much for me to eat myself. With that, the stranger sat at the stool next to me. He introduced himself as Wyatt. I introduced myself and replied with my usual anecdote. Yeah, my parents were big Fleetwood Mac fans. With that, he cracked a crooked grin that made my heart skip a beat. Wyatt's food came shortly after. The guy finished his whole plate and half of mine. I ate until I was satisfied and let him have the rest. The poor guy ate like he hadn't eaten in days. I really wanted this one particular job since it was work from home. Once my apartment lease was up, I could go and travel around the country and work wherever I wanted, as long as I had internet. I hadn't had the guts to tell Jessica this plan yet. Afraid she would say I was abandoning her. I wasn't. I just spent most of my life taking care of others and wanted to focus on me. Wyatt, with an appreciative expression. I wondered what he was thinking, suddenly feeling extremely self-conscious. I blushed, hiding half my face behind my hair. I hadn't done this gesture in years. Wyatt gently tucked my hair behind my ear.
I think you are the most fascinating woman I've ever met.
This was it. This was my chance to live on the wild side. I was going to live a little for once. I asked the bartender for my tab, and Wyatt did the same. He was a gentleman and paid for mine as well. Oh, no, you don't have to do that.
What kind of man do you think I am? I can't just eat half your dinner and not pay for it.
I don't know what drove me to say it, but it was as if someone else was speaking through me. You can at least come over to my place for some dessert then. There was a gleam in his eye before he looked at me and said,
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Feeling instantly like I misread the signs and my face heating with embarrassment, I simply said, oh. With this, I quickly grabbed my purse and walked straight out the door, getting a few whistles as I walked past some men at the pool table. As I was looking for my keys, I realised I left my phone at the bar. Shit, you idiot. I heard footsteps approaching. I looked up to see Wyatt with a sheepish grin on his face.
You, left this. Figured you might want it back.
I quickly grabbed it. Thank you. I went to pull away, and Wyatt grabbed my wrist. His grip was firm, but careful not to hurt me.
I wasn't saying no. It's just, I'm worried I won't be able to control myself around you. I like you, but I wouldn't forgive myself if something happens to you.
I stepped closer to him, looking up at his face. I'm a big girl. I know exactly what I'm asking for.
I don't think you do.
He towered over me. How tall was this guy? I know I wasn't tall, but I barely came up to his chest. With his mouth crashed into mine, I nearly got dizzy with the intensity of this kiss. Yeah, I have been kissed before, but not like this. I pulled away to catch my breath and said, I'll drive to my place. Get in. I only had one drink, so I wasn't worried about the drive. We drove to my place in silence. When we got inside, we picked up exactly where we left off. I'm not going to go into details of what happened because I'm a lady. Well, that, and I don't know how to explain what happened that night. It was something I had never experienced before. Something primal, animalistic even. It was the best night I've ever had. And no book will ever describe the feeling of euphoria I experienced that night. The thing is, I don't remember the bite. Wyatt bit me that night during one of our... Yes, there were multiple. Not the point. Focus, Rhiannon. It was during one of our finales. This is what caused my whole life to change. It's truly crazy how one night can change the whole course of my life. I will never be the person I was before. I've changed. But would I go back to who I was before? No, I wouldn't. That's saying a lot because right now, nothing makes sense. I'm still trying to process everything. What I thought I knew about the world has been totally turned upside down. This sort of thing is supposed to happen, or be real. Wyatt was the one who realised it. I guess in the early sunlight, he was able to see the mark. It was almost completely healed, but the shiny white scar created by the curse gave it away.
Did you always have those scars on your shoulder?
What are you talking about? I said groggily.
These marks right here.
He traced them with his finger. I turned to him, still bleary-eyed, with a confused expression.
They look like bite marks. Wait. Oh, fuck. I think I bit you. Fuck.
He rubbed his hand over his face. A stressed expression creased his features.
This is bad. Very bad. I'm so sorry. I lost control. I never lose control. You just smelled good, and it's been a while, and... Shit. It's that time of year, idiot.
He flopped on his back with his hand on his forehead. Thoroughly confused, I look at him. What the hell are you talking about? My mind's thinking I've made a huge mistake in hooking up with a crazy person. Trying to think if I missed any signs last night. My mind is reeling. Was this why he was hesitant? Had I bullied him into doing something that he wasn't ready for? I didn't think I had. Seeing the confused look on his face, he sighed.
This is going to sound crazy, but you need to know something. There was a reason I said I was worried I wouldn't be able to control myself. I'm a lichen. It's like a werewolf. And it's the season. It's the same as a wolf's mating season. I kind of lost control last night. I think the full moon's coming up too.
He checked his phone really fast.
It's in 2 days. You should be okay. Actually, I think I might still have my amulet that should keep you safe.
He began to get up and look for his clothes. I'm not going to lie. I did get distracted by his nakedness. For the man was certainly a sight to behold. He found his jeans, which were apparently what he was looking for. At first, I was admiring his tattoo on his shoulder, but then I noticed a scar. It was horrible. A bite mark on his forearm. It looked like something clamped down pretty hard on his arm. He grabbed what he was looking for out of his pocket. He noticed where I was looking. So that's a gnarly scar. What do you mean, werewolf? You weren't a wolf last night. I don't have a bite mark like that, do I?
No, you don't. And unfortunately, I'm not joking. I was on a hunting trip with my best friend. We were attacked. My friend was killed in the process. I was bitten and managed to kill it. Despite what the legends say, it doesn't break the curse if you kill the one who turned you. Apparently, something about my bloodline makes me different than a regular werewolf. Now that I've gotten used to it, I can control it completely. but others can't. I don't know if the same will go for you because I bit you. I don't know the exact science of it. I'm so sorry.
He had something silver in his hand that he was looking at, still mulling the information over in my head. I really could use some coffee right now. I don't know about you, but I usually don't function well until I get my coffee. He simply nodded, stashing whatever was in his hand back in his pocket, and we both got partially dressed and headed to the kitchen to make coffee. I was preparing the coffee in a pair of pajama shorts and a sweater when Wyatt broke the silence.
I can make some breakfast if you like. I may not look it, but I'm a great cook.
My stomach seemed to speak for me as it loudly growled. I was starving. I'm never this hungry in the morning. I usually have to force down a protein bar or something, but with the possibility of Jessica coming, I bought breakfast foods anyway, because it's her favourite meal. I nodded. He proceeded to open the fridge and grabbed out the carton of eggs and a pack of bacon. He cooked up half the eggs, some biscuits, and the full pack of bacon, which smelled so good, I considered eating it raw. Raw? What the fuck? Once the coffee and food were ready, we sat down at the kitchen counter. I was ravenous, as if I hadn't eaten in days. This was so unlike me. Even when I was eating my fill, I never ate with such ferocity. I then began to think that he wasn't lying to me. I looked at him and asked the question I had been scared to ask. You're not joking, are you?
Unfortunately, I'm not. Everything I've told you is true.
He stopped eating and looked at me.
You'll start to notice that you'll be hungrier. If you cut yourself or get injured, you'll heal faster than normal. Also, your hearing, night vision, and strength will all be increased. The only thing I'm not sure of is if you'll be able to control it like I can. That's what I'm worried about.
I looked at him with confusion. He then proceeded to pull out the necklace he had been looking at. I looked at the necklace. It's a little early to be giving me jewelry, isn't it? I said, trying to keep my tone light. He gave a small laugh at my joke.
It's not like that. This is something that I got from a shaman when I was trying to get answers about what happened to me. It will help you keep control so you don't do anything you'll regret.
He handed it to me. I took it. And it didn't burn like I thought it would. It felt heavier than it should have and had an odd warmth to the touch. More than it should have for being in his pocket. He helped me put it on. The necklace was silver with a medallion-like charm of a wolf. The back had a flat piece of what looked like obsidian. I looked at the necklace hanging around my neck. The warmth it gave was comforting. It almost had a heartbeat to it, which sounds crazy, but it put me at ease.
It looks good on you. And despite what the lore says, silver won't kill us. It can slow us down if it's blessed the correct way, but not the way Christianity believes. Native people knew the proper way to keep the curse at bay. If you ever need help, find a shaman or medicine man. On the back is black tourmaline. It will help you be in control of the curse.
He gave a shy smile. So, I need to wear this during the full moon only because I might change? He nodded.
Yes. It will make sure you stay human. You might be a little more tired the first few times, but your body will get used to it. I would recommend leaving it on until I'm able to see how bad it is when you do change. But I have a few jobs lined up before I can do that, and they can't wait. If I wait, people will die.
It was more the way he said it than anything that made me feel like he wasn't joking. You said you're a hunter, right? What do you hunt? And what do you mean by you can control it?
For one of those questions, I can show you better than I can tell you.
I thought he was just hitting me with a line from a smart novel, but I was very wrong. He stood up from the stool and his eyes darkened. He closed his eyes and, with a crooked smile, slowly opened them. His eyes were no longer dark brown, but amber, and I could no longer see the whites. I froze. He looked completely predatory. He lifted one side of his mouth to reveal an elongated fang.
See?
He closed his eyes, made his face blank for a second. When he opened them again, he was back to normal.
Those are the less painful things to change. I've had to change other features while hunting, and I only fully transform as a last resort. It's not fun, and it completely ruins my clothes. I got caught once without a backup set. Never again.
I was in awe of him at that moment.
As for your other question, I hunt cryptids. If they get out of line, or if there's an overpopulation of animals causing an issue in the ecosystem. That's why I get paid so well for what I do. I'm only called in when I'm desperately needed. Occasionally, I will do a rescue job, but it's not often. The moon doesn't affect me as much. I still have a few more urges around that time, and apparently, during mating season, I can't control myself, though this is the first time I've encountered it.
Completely skipping over the last little bit, I asked, "What do you mean, urges?" As if it dawned on him what I might be thinking.
Oh, nothing too crazy. Just a little more aggressive. My anger is quicker, but I've got to be careful, because with the added strength, one punch can do a lot of damage. I also tend to eat more meat and like my steaks rare.
That explains why I wanted to eat the raw bacon, I thought to myself. We spent some time together after that, talking and getting better acquainted. Before I knew it, he told me he had to go. Knowing what he did, I didn't want to keep him from his work. He apologised and said that if it weren't for the fact that this strange creature seemed to also follow the moon cycles, he would have waited to go. It wasn't a werewolf. The victims weren't brutally mutilated, but rather drained into husks, as if their insides were sucked out. I shuddered at the thought. I drove him to where he was staying so he could prepare for his next job. We exchanged information so we could keep in touch. He promised to keep me posted on his jobs and when he would finally be able to see how the bite would affect me. We kissed goodbye and I told him to stay safe. He reminded me to keep the necklace on. He told me to keep the necklace on, if only for the full moon, if it wasn't my style. I nodded in agreement. When I got back to my Airbnb, I felt happy and sad. I felt like I connected with Wyatt in a way I never connected with someone before, but I couldn't believe the consequences of the encounter. I mean, if I don't pay attention, I might hurt someone. I decided that I would spend the rest of my trip staying in and relaxing. Jessica was still sick, but recovering, so she wasn't going to make it, which was fine by me. It would give me much needed time to process everything that was going on. Wyatt checked in with me a few times and sent me some cute messages. I had heard back from the job I wanted. I could not wait to work remotely. I started in 2 weeks. All in all, things were looking up. So I got infected with what I thought was just a myth to scare people. Luckily, even though it was an accident, the person who gave it to me was responsible about it. I'm now a werewolf. Or a lichen. It can't get any worse, right? Famous last words. Jessica told me to stop using that phrase. Now I know why. It was my day or night at the Airbnb. The day of reckoning, if you will. I thought I would just get 2 more delicious burgers from the bar, then take it easy for the day. Keep it simple, so I wouldn't have to worry about becoming a creature of the night that terrorised a small town. Or worse. Well, after lunch, I took a nice hot shower, and because I was tired, decided to lay down for a nap. I figured all the excitement and late night binge watching TV, throwing off my sleep schedule. A nap wouldn't hurt. I was worried I would tarnish the necklace. I had been taking it off to shower. I forgot to put it back on and dozed off. But my edition of Naked and Afraid will be my next entry. I will post soon.